Welcome to the Sinusoidal Modeling Investigation. The situation selected is regarding bird migration and monthly temperature in New York. I am particularly keen in this topic because I think that bird migration is an interesting topic that suits the real-life context as it is the natural reaction of birds in typical environment. The model I choose focuses on monthly temperature in New York rather than Bangkok because the temperature in Bangkok is pretty constant and it's always hot. Therefore, the temperature is more diverse in New York in a year span, which makes the data to become more distinct. Since the data that I need to create the sinusoidal model can only be collected within at least 1 year span, it is impossible for me to collect my own data due to the limited time of the assessment. Therefore, I decided to use the data from the internet in which I researched monthly temperature in New York in the last 10 years. From the website found, it can be seen that there is a monthly data that was collected since 1869. I decided to choose the year 2010 and 2011 because it is more recent and there is a more obvious increasing and decreasing trend compared to other years.
Let's start with the model of the function, in which this sinusoidal model will be a cosine function. In sinusoidal function, only maximum and minimum values given, in which it is shown above. In order to identify the function, we need to solve for a, b, c, and d. Since the absolute value of a is equivalent to amplitude, and amplitude is y max minus y min divided by 2, we can identify a by this method. The method is simply plugging in the y max and y min into the formula, and then the a value is identified, in this method the a value is 25.8. The next method is to use the vertical shift to identify the d value, in which the vertical shift is equivalent to the d value. We can find the vertical shift by the formula y max plus y min divided by 2. Similar to the solving method of the a value, we can solve the d value by plugging in the maximum and minimum value into the formula. And the final value for d is 55.5. The next step is to find the b value by using the period, in which the formula is 2 pi by b. Another formula is 2 times x max minus x min. Then we set the two formulas to be equal to one another and substitute the x maximum and minimum value. Finally, you can see that b is equivalent to negative pi over 6, which is equivalent to negative 0.52. The final step is to use the phase shift to find the c value. The formula is c by b. Since this is a cosine data, the phase shift has to be negative 6. Since it is the difference between the origin and x max, same as always, we plug in the b value and phase shift into the formula, and we can find c, in which c is equal to 3.141592, or pi in other words, but we can just simply round it to 3.14. As a summary of the calculation, a is equal to 25.8, b is negative 0.52, c is 3.14, and d is 55.5. Finally, we can just plug all the value into the formula. The next step is to plot each plot by hand. So here are the plots and the maximum and the minimum values labeled. And here's the summary of all the plots, in which the x value is between 0 and 14. The next step is to graph the function online, in which I plug all the a, b, c, d values into decimals, and it fits the plot perfectly. Eastern bluebird is a type of bird that migrates to New York when the temperature in the city reaches 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
What time of the year will the bird migrate to New York based on the formula below?
Since this is a representation of 1 year, the x value is between 0 and 11, in which 0 represents January and 11 represents December.
Fx, which is the temperature, has to be set at 40 degrees and x value is still unknown. The solving process is basically plugging 40 into Fx and solve for x. Here's the solving process. The x value is 1.78. To make sure that there's no mistake while solving the equation, I verify it. After the process of verification, it can be seen that the solution found is correct. The first strand of the reflection is to briefly communicate all the relevant elements, in which the relevant element in this assignment is to identify the trigonometric function with only information of the maximum and minimum value. Therefore, to find the equation of the function, the a, b, c, d value from the formula. Since these values were still unknown, I have to use the maximum and minimum value given to find amplitude, phase shift, vertical shift, and period to then solve these unknown values. Another thing to consider is to justify whether the solution makes sense. To check the reliability of the solution, we can use the online graph created. Additionally, it can be seen that the y value of 40 is between 33.1 and 48.2 plot of the graph, which is when the x value is between 1 and 2. Even though there are other y values in a function that is 40, the question asks for the first time of the year that the temperature reaches 40 degrees. Thus, when you strike the x value to be between 0 and 11, the first y value that is 40 is the area that makes the solution of 1.78 to make sense.